There are three different field types that we will be working with. The first is data fields, and these are fields that are exposed from the source report, the ION layout, the SQL query, or the prepackaged ticket format. Each of the areas that are going to be displayed in the report, the different column names are going to be what we're getting in our DX data fields. The second is calculated fields, and these are user-added expressions that calculate either mathematical equations or combinations of data fields. I will show you how to add these in a little bit later in the presentation. And the third option are parameters, and these are user-added prompts that allow you to specify things like date ranges or customer numbers within your DX format. And we're not going to be covering those today. Those will be covered in the May edition, where we're covering more advanced topics. Now, to add these to the report itself, I would need to go to the right panel where my fields are listed and choose my data field and simply drag and drop it right onto the canvas itself. I'm going to be bringing over customer name to be shown in the detail line. And I can also check my progress every step of the way. All I would need to do is just go to preview. That's along the bottom band of the report. And now that I've got my customer name in there, in the detail line, I am seeing 975 lines returned based on the layout I've got in the detail line, and it's showing me all of them by customer name. And as I said earlier, because I have it set up with more white space, every one of those lines is going to return all of that margin between each one of the lines. So if I just shrink that a little bit, I can check the preview. I can already see that I'm saving a lot more paper because I'm just reducing the amount of space between the lines. Now I'm going to add the customer number field and shrink the space a little bit more, check the preview, and now each one of my lines is returning both customer name and customer number. And as you can see while I'm working, I have these pink lines appear, and these are going to be these snap lines that just keep these cells in line, so I don't have data that's just slightly off from one another. It's going to help me keep my report more organized and the data that I'm returning in line with itself. And now I'm going to be adding a label for each of these, which I'll add into the page header just to keep things a little bit more clear. I'm going to add a label right above the customer name column. I'm going to call this customer name, as well as right on top of the customer number column. This is going to be displayed at the top of every one of my pages. And I can customize these columns to appear exactly how I'd like them to, shape them, size them, also customize what is inside them. If I resize them to overlap one another, DX will tell me. This will not prevent the report from printing, but it will tell me that my text will be overlapping if it runs longer than the field itself. So if I didn't have something like customer name in there, and the detail line, as we can see, has multiple lines sometimes. If I stretch that out, I could have it overlap the number, and DX would tell me. Now that we see how the page header and the detail lines act, I can add something to my report header. And now that we've got this big block of space up here, let's say I could just add a company logo here, and we could just use a data field that would normally return company logo. In this case, I'll just say, let's put our company logo here. And I could just use the area at the top to customize my text and just say, if we had one, we'd put our company logo right here and shrink the white space a little bit. And let's see how that looks on the report itself. Since it's the report header, it's going to be just shown at the top of the very first page. And as I can see, that first page has a lot of margin there, and the company logo would be there. And I can scroll down, and it's not showing on the next pages, just my page header is. Now, when I was viewing those results just a moment ago, I saw that the column names sort of blended with the detail lines themselves. So I'm going to move this down a little bit, and I'm going to add a line that runs under my labels here in my page header. So at the top of every page, I'm going to have my column names as labels, and I'm just going to add a line in here, drag and drop it from the side, and resize it all the way across, just so it runs across the page. And now if I preview it, I can see that my column names are much clearer to read and separated from the detail lines themselves. And now that I see my columns being organized a little bit better, I'm going to add some more columns into the detail line, resize the ones I've got, and I'm going to add some more labels for the column names as well.